A little bit of a different one today. So, Alex, welcome to Matt and Mates.
Oh, thanks. Glad to be here, honestly. Always
Well,
sitting behind the camera.
You're
normally.
always here anyway, I was going to say. So, for people that aren't aware, you're the man behind the camera that does all the behind-the-scenes stuff for us and has recently taken over. I think you've done about 4 or 5 episodes now.
That sounds about right.
Yep. And I decided, well, I've obviously heard our story. I think that it's cool, sort of like how I've got to know you and get into this relationship with you. But I wanted to share with other people to get to know you as well and get an understanding of why you've sort of chosen the career path and how we're seeing things going forward with the podcast and yourself really going into the next chapter.
Such a random story, hey?
It is. No, it's. I guess we'll sort of get straight into it on that. But we actually met each other out of all places, somewhere where I've only ever been once in my life, is a tattoo studio that my cousin works out of, Corbin Phelps at Studios
187.
187, yep. Give them a little shout out. I am due to actually go get another one from him, so I should actually give him a message after this. But yeah, I think I was just sitting on the couch waiting or filling out some paperwork, and then you were doing some content for them.
Yeah, so Studio 187 Tattoo is like the first. Well, one of my close friends works there, and this was like the beginning of me trying to do videography as like a huge career switch, but we can get more on that later. But I was literally just doing like free work, and I just wanted to be in the space more, and I have this. I just talk to everyone, which is probably one of my luckier traits. And so, yeah, you were literally just waiting on the couch on your phone, and I was like, this poor guy must be so awkward. I can tell you're a first timer. I've only got like 3 tattoos, but every time I'm there, I can tell when someone's like, I bet he's interesting. And I mean, the Shaka tattoo, I was already like, the design you're going for, because Corbin showed me it before you even started. And I was like, I'm just going to have a chat with this guy. And, well, for one, I had to ask for consent before I could record anyway. So I was like, hey, mate, can I record you?
And then that started the whole conversation from there.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, it was just out of all places. That's where we got chatting. And then obviously you heard about the reason why I was getting the tattoo. And then I got to hear about your story. And then you basically, I think you were doing some work whilst I was getting tattooed, but you still hung around. We just chatted from there. And as soon as I walked out of there, I was like, you know what, like, he'd actually be pretty handy to get on for the show, just to sort of be able to expand the show, get that stuff that I struggle to do myself. And fast forward, so that was in June, July last year. I know it feels
that is crazy to me. A lot has happened since then.
A lot. I think you jumped in for one more. That was my first ever one, which I did in September last year, and then I got a bit caught up with it, and then this year we were all guns blazing, and here we are, a few more episodes into it, and
that's crazy.
This is where it's going. So yeah, essentially, like you've been such a godsend for the show, and
I appreciate that.
It's been so much. Oh man, I can't explain to you the amount of times I've spent sitting at a computer going, I have no idea how any of this works when it comes to the video and when it comes to clipping up things, and just having you guide me through that, but also take off that load from me as well, has been so much easier. So thank you, number one, for that. But now I want to get to know you even more and let the listeners get to know you more, so they know who's the guy behind the scenes doing that stuff that we're able to share with everyone that listens and watches. Sure. But before we even do that, we've got a question that we ask every single guest, and you've heard it a million times. So I feel like you would have had a few times thinking what your answer would be.
I'm a little prepared. Something comes straight to mind anyway.
Fantastic. So obviously, what was your most random achievement or award during your childhood?
I would say, and I don't know why this is stuck in my head for so many years. And it's actually funny, like I never thought this would be a story that even came out, because I always thought it's just one of my personal things. I always was addicted to the number 2. And for as long as I can remember, there was one event why I was addicted to it. Like, I love the number 2. I would rather be second best, which is like a weird thing to say, over first or third. And it was like year 4, we had a 100-meter sprint. I was a chubby little kid, and I somehow came second. And I remember that explicitly because I got this, like, the ribbon was colored blue, and it was the number 2. And I hung that up in my room for so long. And, like, genuinely, I don't know why that's such a pivotal memory for me. And plus, like I said, I'm not a fast guy by any means, and I was chunky as a child. And so coming second in the sprint, I was so proud. Still proud now.
So athletics wasn't really something you always saw yourself being strong at, and that's the whole thing, just having that ribbon. Was blue actually the second?
For ours, yeah, weirdly.
We got blue for first.
I don't know, it's backwards where I was.
No, it was like, because it used to be 4. You used to get first, so blue was first, second was red, gold was third, and then green was 4th.
That's so different to ours, yeah. I only remember the blue, but I don't remember seeing a red. So yeah, it's
Okay,
quite different.
yeah.
But to be fair,
Geraldton
like,
is different, let's say.
yeah, I was gonna say I grew up in Malaysia, so it's
Yeah,
even
well,
more
true.
different.
That's what we're going to chat about as well. So much to say, but yeah, that's a good one. Yep,
I
like
appreciate that. Yeah.
no, not many people would look at their second place, and go, that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
But I'm glad. I'm glad
Actually,
it's saying.
honestly, like thinking back at it, and this is like even further on it. Second, I think to me was not like your second best. It's more like supporting role.
Oh,
Like I never
yeah.
want to be the spotlight, which is kind of
Scottie Pippen to Michael Jordan.
mate. What an honor. That's like such a good
There we
comparison.
go. I'm just going to call you Scotty from now on. No, awesome answer. I love that. Well, I obviously know a lot about you, but let's get to know the person who you are and how that all happened. So you have the Malaysian background, that's right. And you moved to Australia later on in life, is that correct?
Definitely later on. Definitely
Yep.
later on. Yeah. I mean, you already probably got questions about the accent, and I look funny too if anyone's looking at the videos. Like, who is this guy?
Not at all. Not
No?
at all. So what age were you when you would have moved to Australia?
I would have been 18, turning 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And so geez, they're a lot later on in life.
Yeah.
In my head, I was thinking it was like, it would have been, 9, 8, but yeah, right. So 18, 19. So you've obviously built a whole life over there as well.
Yeah.
And then you've had to transition over to here. So was that all with your family as well?
No, that was by myself, and
Wow.
yeah, honestly, don't get to
didn't
say
know
the
that.
story a lot. Yeah, so when I was 18, like a little bit of context. So my background is I grew up in Malaysia, but before that I had moved a lot. So I did a little stint when I lived in the UK. My dad's English,
Yep.
and my mom's Malaysian Chinese. So when I was 18, like I grew up as an outsider in my mind in Malaysia. I didn't speak the language. English is the only thing I speak, and I sound, for some reason, American/Canadian.
Yeah.
And so I stuck out like a sore thumb. And once I finally graduated high school, I was just like, I know I'm going to do so much better in Australia. And I grew up, so a bit more context is I did live in Perth when I was in year 3 for like a year
Okay.
or maybe 2 years. And then we moved back. And then I went to the
Right.
Australian school for the rest of my like education. So from like 8-year-old until 18, I was in the Australian system. Hence why I was like, it makes so much sense to come to Australia. I fit in here.
Yeah.
It's definitely more my culture anyway.
A lot more diverse here as well. And so you always were constantly moving around with the family. And then are your family still based over in Malaysia? Or
We're
did
a
some of
little
them move?
everywhere.
A
yeah.
little everywhere?
We're a little everywhere. So.
All good reason to travel.
Yeah, no, honestly. And like looking back, and like my wife is born and bred from Perth, right? So like we always draw the comparisons between how she grew up. Like the funny thing
Yeah.
is she grew up so different to me, but our interests are the same. And
Yeah,
it just
right.
goes to show like it doesn't really matter where you
No.
grow up, but it's even your character and your fundamentally who you are is tied to like what your experience is.
Yeah, and that's it. Everyone has their different likes and dislikes as well, and sometimes it doesn't matter what the background is
Oh, that's
behind that.
crazy.
Most random place you would have lived for a bit,
Uh,
spent time in?
I have this vivid memory, and I don't actually know if it's true, but we lived in Paris for a little while. Yeah.
My God, you have a story.
It was a very short time. I don't even think I went to school there, but we were there for feels like a couple months, and I was definitely like quite young. I think before the age of 8, I'd probably moved to like 4 to 5 different countries, from my understanding. At least that's what my parents told me, and I do remember some of them. Yeah,
insane.
dude, jumped around a lot, and then we settled in Malaysia for from ages 8 until 18.
Man, some people go their entire life without even traveling. They might even go to one country, and you've already done that before you even finished school.
Oh, dude, it's terrible though. It's like.
That's really cool though. Like, I would love that as a kid to be able to travel as much as I can. For us, it used to be traveling to Perth because growing up in Geraldton, traveling to Perth was our holiday or getaway. So it's amazing seeing the different comparisons in that sense.
You wouldn't even know.
Yeah, here we are.
But honestly, like it gave me itchy feet. Like I just cannot stay still, which is probably both a blessing and a curse. But it is definitely a blessing at the end of the day because I look back and not everyone gets that opportunity. It was wild.
And it builds a lot of character as well, having to travel all these different places. It's something that a lot of people wouldn't be able to say they've been able to do, but it's obviously led you to so many different paths and understanding where you are right now and what type of career you're going into from there. So
Yeah.
I guess that leads to the next part of like, well, obviously having that full background of constantly on the go and then finally making your way over to Australia. What was the plan once you'd got to Australia? Was it to start getting into the video, or did you have sort of another plan of, no, I might do uni or something else along those lines?
These are good questions. Honestly, when I came here, I think it was just to purely get away from where I was growing up. Just like I said, I felt like an outsider there.
Yeah.
Like there were moments where I was like, I can't be, like, I just can't wait to grow up and then finally like live my life, which is kind of like I guess it's like looking back, it's a bit sad to think about, but at the same time, it forced me to grow pretty quickly, which is probably why when I first moved here, even though I was like 19, it felt like I was 20 something, and people would say that you act a lot older than what you seem.
No, 100%. Yeah.
You just get forced to grow. And I did move here. Like I have my aunties that took care of me for a little while, so I do have some family, but I did move by myself with like the intention of kind of like.
Well, that close knit support group you would have had wasn't here.
Correct.
Yeah. You were coming into something very foreign, and it was just going to be, I've got a little bit of support, but I'm still out on my own.
Exactly that. So like finding a place to stay, because I only stayed with like family for a couple months. So originally when I came here, it was just to get out of the country and just enjoy somewhere that felt more like home.
Were you working over in Malaysia at that time?
No. So I only got my first job when I was like 20. So
okay. So what year do you finish school over there?
18. Yeah.
18. Oh, right. Yep. So you finished. That's pretty much now the transition here in Australia to 18-year-olds all finishing, which is wild to me, by the way. That's a whole other topic. Just being 17 when I graduated. Did
you?
Yeah. So we used to be. So it's switched now, but we were 17 when we finished high school.
Okay.
So most kids were getting their license and all that in the final year. I happened to be 18 after the same year I finished high school, but that was because I had a late birthday.
So you towards the end of the year. Yeah.
But most kids were 17 and then turning 18 the year after high school. So now I'm seeing kids turn 18 and they're going out to bars and all that, but they're still in school.
Huh.
It's
so strange. Weird. Yeah, no, that's I didn't realize you could graduate younger than that. My dad always made that comment where he's just like, I left school at 16.
No, there you go.
And
I think my parents were 15. So
yeah,
it's
seriously. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, very different times. Very different times. Yeah, right. So then you have moved over here. You have no sort of work experience. You're pretty much fresh out of school.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just going out on a limb to find out what it is. Like you obviously want to be here, but now what's that next step of getting into Australia? Where do you see your career going?
So funny. Like so much of my life has just been on a whim. Yeah. Just like going with what feels right. No, literally, like I came here.
Though.
Man, I had no intention of going to uni, and I probably went to uni for a semester and was like, nah, this is not for me.
Which uni?
Curtin.
Curtin? Okay.
Yeah. So I was.
Murdoch's better.
I've heard otherwise. So I went. Oh man, it's so funny. Like I came here originally, like, because I was at a pivotal time when I was 18. Because I'm English by heritage, right? So I'd gotten the English passport. I was ready to move to the UK, and I was at this point. And even the story at the airport's kind of wild to me. And it feels like everything lined up. So I was supposed to come here. It definitely feels like someone is helping me along the way, which is kind of a wild thing to say. But at the airport, so a little bit of context, you can't really be a dual national in Malaysia, and a lot of Asian countries are like that. So I was at the airport. I had 2 passports, and it's kind of a bit of a no-no. And at that point, they were denying me boarding the flight. And at that time, like literally, they were like, okay, you have to wait. You can't board this flight. The passport you're on doesn't have a visa to enter the country. And I was like, oh, there's a bit of confusion, mix-up. But there was another lady that had like naturalized to become an Australian, and she'd seen this little 18-year-old kid. It's just lost. I was like, my parents weren't at the airport as well, so I'm like texting my dad back and forth. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm a bit stuffed here, and he was like, oh, just forget about it. We'll get you on a flight to England instead tomorrow. It seems like Australia's not wanting you. And I was like, oh, but I really want to go. And this lady, literally, I'm so lucky because she had a connection direct to immigration, and she literally called someone, was just like, approve this kid for like boarding the flight, and she did. I don't even know who she called. I don't even remember who she was. And literally, whoever she called had enough authority to allow it in the system, and they let me board. And I was like, that is insane. And I was an 18-year-old.
Just like a couple of minutes space.
Oh, yeah, I was already late for boarding. I was like, as you would. And yeah, they let me on the flight, and I mean, when I landed, they lost my luggage. But so it was like cherry on top, of course. But yeah, just super lucky. But yeah, I didn't have any intention of going to uni. I didn't actually come here with the intention of wanting to stay either. It was kind of, I just wanted to get out of my day-to-day. I've done it for enough. Like, all of high school, I'm good. I want to experience something else. And I was waiting for one of my best mates to come. He's from Perth originally. And so there was like a 2-month period. I was just waiting for him to arrive. And so I was kind of just staying with family. And
just
waiting.
Going through the motions.
Literally just going through the motions.
Counting down the days.
Literally.
So you just moved straight to Perth? Didn't go to anywhere else?
No, nowhere else. Yeah, one and done.
So how would the plan be to go other places around Australia? Have you done much travel around?
Yeah, I've gone around. So I've actually, before I even came here, I've like done the whole East Coast.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, family trips and stuff like that.
Travel more around this country than I have.
It's kind of wild, hey? Just lucky. I went to Melbourne just the other week. The other month. Time's going so fast. And for the longest time, this is what I mean when I said like growing up in so many different places get me itchy feet. Like my wife's a homebody; she loves Perth, so she wants to stay here. And I've just been that egg, just being like, let's go somewhere else. I can't just settle. And I had this thing in my mind. A lot of my cohort, when they graduated, went to Melbourne, and I was like, I want to go to Melbourne too. It seems like where it's at. And I had the chance last month to basically fly over there and see what it was like, catch up with some of those old friends, and it's just Perth's the place for me, I guess. Like I just can't vision going anywhere else at this point.
It is a lot, like people, although it's not the capital of Australia, you'd probably say for opportunity wise and for the type of probably line of work that you're in, that Melbourne's probably the place where that's all happening. But that also means that it would be quite flooded. So you'd have a lot of competition against you. Where over here in Perth, like even doing this type of stuff that we're doing here, the demand, it's here, but it doesn't feel like it's obviously overpopulated yet. Like there's still room to grow and take advantage of the space that we have, which is essentially what I feel that you're doing with yourself now over here, and why it sort of spoke more to you. And it's kind of after being in Melbourne a little bit myself, seeing my family and all that, it's kind of a lot more relaxed over here. Like it just doesn't feel like a rat race. Like
that's so important though.
At times it can, because obviously work and all that takes over. But when you spend like a week over there and then you come back here, you're like, nah, Perth's pretty relaxed.
It's so relaxed. I love it.
It's very different. Oh no, that's going back to like the talk of the passport. This is probably a little bit boring, chat, but I'm just more curious. So are you dual citizen?
I am. Yeah.
Yep. Are you full Australian citizen now?
Funny enough, I'm dual citizen but not Australian.
So
That's the next goal. So that's
UK and
Malaysian.
Yep, and then Australia on there. So can you have 3?
I mean, technically,
yeah.
Cancel this if it's illegal. Nah, it's technically like I'm gonna go for my Australian citizenship for the end of this year, so I will try and get my passport. And then like even though heritage is like English and Malaysian by growth, or like by background, I've always felt Australian at heart. So like I would easily give up those passports. It's not a challenge.
Forget as much.
Yeah.
And so so is that just a common trait that because I've heard about this in like over in China and all that they do not like having dual citizens. They want you to have just only the one passport, or that's it. So is it like a process to be able to have both, or is it you're allowed to get them?
It's easy,
but they just might say to you, well, you have to make a decision. Which one do you want?
That's exactly it. So I think
you haven't had that conversation yet. Then
almost did. That's the whole incident getting held at the airport. Yeah, so that was that was scary at the time, but it was an easy choice. Like I was not English. I grew up in Malaysia, so would have been easy. There's not like a big penalty for it. I think the logic is it's quite hard to track. So like if you're like if you apply for a passport through another government, the government systems don't talk to each other about who's a citizen where. So it becomes confusing, but I think it's more of a way to like hold on to their, like brain drain is like a big issue a lot with a lot of countries, especially in Asia too. So I feel like that's probably the reason why they're like not huge for it. But it's an interesting question. I guess you wouldn't run into that issue a lot, but being in an international background, it's everyone's like flying in and out, a different heritage. It's just normal, which is kind of
it is. Yeah, like I would love to have some sort of another background behind me, but fortunately, from all I'm aware, is this we're just boring Australian, whatever that might be. Years ago over in England. I'm not too sure what I get a lot of Italian. I kind of hope there's a little bit of Italian in me because I do love pasta, I do love pizza, and when I was over in Italy, it did a little part of me felt like I was at home.
Maybe.
So there might be like a chance on 1/16th, 1/30th. I don't know. We'll find out in the near future. But I'd love to have something like that. So that's really awesome to have something around that and a lot of diversity and culture in your life so far. So I guess that brings us on to what was the plan here in Australia? What did you tried uni and then you went into full-time work? Did you have an idea of the job you were looking for?
I remember what I was good at. So in high school, I was good at coding and IT, and it wasn't called IT. I can't remember what the original term was. It was maybe coding and tech. It was one of the classes, and I remember explicitly it was a class of 2. It was me and another kid, because everyone had dropped it because the teacher was a bit funny, but he had like the English sarcastic humor, which doesn't rub off very well for a lot of people. But it was like home for me because I just grew up in it. And I remember doing really well in that class, and so logically for me, I didn't have the intention of going to uni, but I went to O Week at Curtin, and I was like, this is sick, this is cool, this is like the movies. And so I like applied, and I was like 2 weeks in, and I got international background, so they want international students, so got in easy, and then did work. Sorry, I went to classes for like a semester, and at that point I was like, this isn't for me. I'd rather do something else. But I didn't really have a plan, right? I was kind of winging it every step of the way. And then I got super lucky, and I met my girlfriend, wife now, and it was just playing social sport. And then once I met her, it was kind of like, oh yeah, right. I kind of want to stay. So like how do I stay? It was going to be like TAFE and then get onto the workforce.
Decide what you wanted to go from there.
But it was still tech. So it was still in IT in some degree, just naturally following my skill set at the time because I didn't know any better.
No, well, that's exactly right. What was the actual degree at TAFE or like diploma?
Yeah, it was a diploma. Yeah. So the first one I did was a cert, and then it went into a diploma. So I got a diploma of networking.
Yep.
And then I think that was it actually. And then I stopped there, and after I graduated, I pretty much got a job like the next month.
Yeah.
Which was super lucky.
And was that IT? Because you worked a bit in IT. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much why you were so good at all
the tech
all
bit.
Of this. Yeah. So IT was sort of the path you went down, and you were just working in that for how long?
Next 5 years. Yeah.
Yep, 5 years.
So the next 5 years, I job hopped a bit. I think within that 5 years, I would have worked at like 4, maybe 5 different IT companies.
Yeah.
And so I started my career in one place. I jumped around a bunch, and then and I say end my career because like I'm done with IT. That was like that. It was that stage in my life, but it's not the next. So like I started there. I jumped around a bunch, found out the grass is not green on the other side. Went back to my original place, sat there for like another year, and then I was like, okay, cold turkey. I'm done in IT. I want to pursue something else.
Not for you anymore.
Not for me anymore. Yeah.
Is it just for anyone that, because like I obviously haven't really done much in IT. My skill is just turning things on, turning things off, and that fixes everything.
That's all I did.
Well, there we go. Anyone listening? Is it kind of like a very repetitive type job? Is it something that you just
That's exactly
go through the motions of the week in, week out?
So I think the type of IT I work, because it's such a vast area.
Yeah.
It is very much like. I think for me it was quite personal. It was the sense of like if you weren't there, it didn't make a difference. So and that's kind of, that's good for most people, but for me it just kind of like I'm just a piece of this cog, and I'm so replaceable.
Just a number.
Just a number. Just a number. Which is not a bad thing against the industry. It's just there will always be a need for IT in terms of people need help, and especially from a technical background. So at that stage, I was kind of like, I want to do more. I felt like my background is so diverse. I've already been so blessed as it is to have a wealth of experience in just random things. And so I was like, why would I not capitalize on this and try and do something a bit more, something with more impact, which has always been kind of like the reason for why I'm trying to pursue my own business.
Yeah.
Just make a difference. That's it at the end of the day. Just make a difference.
So IT being part of it, but then you've gone into the line of videography, photography, that type of stuff. Now, I would say they overlap, but where did the idea come from? Were you always having sort of like a creative mindset?
Honestly, like looking back, it is random. Creativity, I think, was what I was craving the most.
Yep.
Like in tech, especially with programming and even just break fix stuff, it's like, it's very objective. There is a clear-cut answer. And so like, especially when you're coding, if you get any little bit wrong, it's like the whole thing doesn't compile. And so like with that, it's hard to be super creative because you still have to follow a set of rules. And so I always wanted to kind of like, I want to do something creative. I want to work with my hands or something like that. But to be fair, I'd done like 3, maybe 4 other businesses before deciding on photo and video. Before that, I tried to do a t-shirt company, so a little e-commerce business.
Okay, yeah.
Then I did a digital marketing business that was me and a friend, our business partner at the time. And that was purely for the pet industry and just digital marketing for pet daycares and like e-commerce brands. And that was my first little bit of success.
Yeah.
And then after that, oh man, what was the next one after that? There was a couple more things that I had tried. Definitely tried drop shipping, as I would in my generation.
Yep.
So everyone has got to try it. And none of that paid off. And then eventually during that whole process, I was picking up the camera constantly. I was like, had to take photos, had to do videos. I was running ads for people. And I think at that stage, I mean, I grew up and I've met some people like me now, and I realize now it's probably because we grew up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so watching a bunch of you, kind of like, why not? It looks so fun.
Everyone's doing it.
Everyone's doing it. So I just found the camera in my hand more and more. And then ultimately I was kind of like, why don't I just do this? And that's what I started doing. Yeah.
It's fascinating because the people I've met in IT, now not stereotyping whatsoever, but people you meet in IT are very introverted. They just like to do their thing, get out, and it seems as if, like, not saying they're not creative, but it seems as if they have a very more simple attitude and way of life. Whereas yourself, even getting to know you, you come off as very extroverted. You want to do things. You're very creative. Like, you've just got this mindset of doing one X, Y, and Z, but you're working in a job that seems as if it's very mundane. So it's just such a fascinating going from, all right, I'm going to do this job that's probably not the best fit for me into this type of work, which makes sense because that's where your mindset is. But just seeing that comparison between the two, it's very, very interesting to know that that's where you started and then this is where you are now.
In hindsight, it makes a lot of sense why I wasn't super happy in
Yeah.
the previous job,
It
right?
does,
You're
yeah.
like, wait.
And you got to enjoy what you do at the end of the day, don't you?
100%.
No, that's so cool. So then obviously, like, you've mucked around with the cameras, you've decided that this is something you want to do. You've done a little bit of work here or there for some friends and all that. You do run, well, I have shared it many times because you are involved with all this work we do here, Trigram Studio. Was that always an idea to create your own studio or create your own business in a way? Or were you sort of going, well, maybe I'll do work with someone else for a while before you took that leap?
The first job I worked, the owner of that business is like a serial entrepreneur. He friggin' loves it, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, our KPIs there were you had to read a certain amount of books a year, which for most people seems quite unreasonable. And I fought it for a really long time. I was like, I don't want to read in my free time.
Yeah.
Like, why? But that was
It's a
probably
KPI.
it was a KPI. Yeah.
Right.
So every year you had to meet it. And I'm not like talking shit about it. It's more like it very easily there's a certain culture you want to try and meet, and that was such an easy way to kind of be like, if you don't you read books, right? But the intention tends to be around the self-development and improvement side of things. And so you would naturally gravitate towards, I want to be the best version of myself, and reading books is such a valuable asset for getting to that better point. So it's easy to kind of gauge, if you're not meeting that KPI, then maybe you're not a cultural fit for this business.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, looking back at
Yeah.
it, but when you're in it, you're kind of like, I don't want to read.
Yeah, what's the point of this? Like, I just want to learn. I want to
Literally,
do this. Yeah.
I just want to do my job. Like, sometimes that's what it's like. But I think for me, that was like the first bit of fire, because I left that place, right? And then I came back to it, which is a testament to the person I was slowly becoming. And so, when, so like with trying to improve, the reason with starting the business, I think the biggest thing was always that guy that owned that business was so big on like being realistic. It's like, if you're going to work this job, you're probably not going to get to the place you want to be if you're quite an ambitious person. And so he must have saw that. And so, he was like handing me on it. And then ultimately I fell in love with the idea of business. Yeah. And I was against it when I was a kid. I was like, corporations.
As we all were, yeah. That's how we're all sort of
normally.
seen it, yeah.
But that's just the bad side, I think. But there is so much upside and so much like potential.
Well, it's not until you're actually in it. That's when you start to realize what creates a business, what gets a business going. Because it's more than just that person that has all the money at the end of the day, sitting at the edge of the table, flaunted it all. They're actually offering a service or a product, or whatever it might be, and they're creating opportunities for other people to get involved in it as well.
100%.
That's the part we don't think about.
No, we always think this guy's greedy. He's keeping all the cash. Like, why is the prices so high? Yeah. So like that experience really drove me towards realizing that it's actually, I'm a geek for it now, man. I try and learn as much about business. So I don't think this is going to be my last, and it's definitely like, I'm definitely going to keep riding this hill. I was saying to one of my old coworkers, we caught up yesterday. Yeah. And I was like, I started now because I want to be doing this well until I'm 80. Like, this,
that's awesome.
It's just what I want to do. It's just so cool. Business is such like a catch-all term. You can do whatever, as long as it's profitable.
As long as you keep making money from it, and it's also something as long as it's transferable as well. Where although you're going to be the person doing it, can you bring someone else on to teach? And then when you're having to whether do a handover or anything like that, you trust them to be able to take over your baby, essentially. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So then, where the next step, I guess, was going from like working with someone that you're so passionate with and seeing that, and then that sort of gave you that push to go, let's go out and do this myself. Did Trigrams evolve from that, or were you just working independently on your own, like doing some freelance stuff whilst you were doing the other stuff? What sort of that drove that next step to go, I'm ready to create what I'm trying to do here?
Yes, that's a good question. Yeah, so I think a lot of people, and I remember at the beginning, I was getting a lot of questions like, "Oh, how do you do a side hustle? Like, you got any side hustle ideas, like website development?" Because that was another business that I had for a little bit, was just website design and
Which
development.
let me say, you do some great work.
Oh,
On
I
website
appreciate
design.
that. I didn't realize it's come back in now. But it's funny, like all the little things that I tested that failed are still coming into like ultimately what I'm doing now. But I bring up the side hustle thing because that's like the wrong mindset, or at least for me. So I was working my full-time job and still like in my off time trying to like make this work. And when I say make this work, it was literally just like cold outreach and just doing freelance work. Trigram Studio, the name is weird. I understand that. It was definitely more trying to nod to my like Chinese heritage and trying to connect to that because I only speak English. And
I've always wanted to ask this actually. Where did it get involved?
Yeah, honestly, it was so hard to find a name that wasn't taken. And so that was one battle. And then the other battle was, oh man, it was originally from like Naruto. I don't know if you've watched it, but there's like
I know of it. I can't.
there's
say
like
I've
a
watched
fight.
it.
There's a fighting technique. One of the characters uses like this thing called an 8 trigrams, which has like heritage and lore around Chinese heritage. And so I wanted to kind of like nod to that, but still tie it in. But I also didn't want to attach it to my name because ultimately it's a business. I don't want it to just be stuck to me. But I was juggling it on the side, and then eventually when I got married, that's when I went all in. So that was the end of last year, September, and that's when I was like, all right, I quit my job. I'm gonna do this full time. So blessed my wife was able to carry me and just like financially just like take that burden, and so I could just give it my full attention. And that was the end of last year, and now we're running it full time. And it's just me, but less than a year of actual work.
I mean, that's all it takes. It just takes one yourself to get it to where you want it to be, and then you start to expand from there. And I said it at the start, I'm very grateful for how we've met because it's got us to where we are now, and we're actually creating something special here, and you're involved in that. But I'm also seeing what you're doing behind the scenes as well with your line of work. And then with Trigrams as well, did you sort of have to do much searching for work in a way, or did you, because you'd already done the freelancing beforehand, did you see that, okay, I've already got a little bit to start with, that's going to start supporting me, and then I'm going to be able to expand and create it and make this my full-time job?
At the beginning, it was very much like little bits of cash here and there and just proving the idea. I think I find it honestly, it's a real struggle for me to like double down and just follow one idea. I remember there was one person that called me like I had like shiny object syndrome. And I would just like chase the next trend or something like that. And
no ADHD?
Not diagnosed. I have it, but it's a running thing. It could be. Who knows? But the thing is, like, I can hyper focus, which is why I feel like maybe it's not. But I think it's the fear of like putting all your eggs in one basket. Yeah. And then getting it wrong. So it's a risk kind of.
I think that's what all of us do. I'm very guilty of that too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, it took a while to kind of be like, I'm just going to double down on this. And then I brought a mentor on board, and he basically said, just double down on it, dude. Just like try it for like 6 months. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But the whole idea is like not to shoot yourself and say, hey, you're doing a bad job because you can't, evolve, can't go. Like my business has changed shape so many times. Like I said, I had like 4 different businesses beforehand, and now it's kind of combined. Yeah. But there's like all the skill sets I picked up back then. But I had no right to do it full time without the support of my wife. And now but we both went into it knowing that, like, in this economy now, so, like, sole income, working corporate ladder, just trying to slowly increment and just, like, beating inflation was just not going to cut it for us. And so, like, I made that decision. I think I was 26 when I made that decision. I'm only 27 now. But I was like, I'm just going to...
27. I forget that. You've had such a life since, moving here when you were 19?
Oh, man. Yeah, I've been here for so long now. It's crazy. When I moved here in 19, like, oh, gosh. It's... Yeah, even I blink and all the time's gone. But like I knew I would take a hit now and just kind of be shoveling dirt for a bit to set myself up later. So
and that's what you got to do. You got to the old expression, you got to spend a bit of money to start making money.
Yeah.
And you got to sacrifice money to also start making money. And that's where you've got yourself to this day. And it's obviously working for you because look at you now. You've got some work going and it's doing well. And if you're not, definitely check out his stuff online because it's exceptional.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Do you have a part of your job that the business that you have found that's the most evolved and that you're more passionate about, or do you find all aspects have their part in your life?
All aspects definitely have their part. I mean, the type of work I do is very hand selected, and even the way I get clients is like I'm hand selecting who I choose to work with. I went through an approach in one of my first businesses where I just basically sprayed and prayed. I ran ads and got my own clients just whoever would pay money, and that just doesn't always bring you the best clientele.
Yeah.
And so I had a bad experience there, and now I'm very much like, my approach even now, it's like I don't want to take any and all work. I'm so selective. And like when we originally talked, I was like, I watched your videos, I saw the charity events you were going for. I just understand you from like an outsider perspective, your values, and even just from that brief chat, I was like, I like this guy. I can see where he's going. And like I said with the podcast, it's like I see the future of it. I want to get on board while I can, and see if I can be part of that journey. So most of the people I work with, I want to be part of their journey, and that was a big thing about why I quit my original job. I was just a number, but here it's like there's genuine impact, and it's fun at the end of the day.
And that's it. And although there is a lot more, I guess you'd probably say at risk, because like you're putting yourself out there, you're getting involved with it, which is great. You're that person that's in there. There is also that risk of like, well, there's a chance that might not be a forever thing, because we're putting so much. Like, as much as I want to see this podcast go as much as I can, I'm going to definitely do as much as I can, because I can see your belief. I know I have that belief, and that's where we both see it going, starting to grow it and get it to where we want it to be. It must, in the back of your head, you always have that little thought of, what if it doesn't always go to plan?
I think with that though, you just don't know until it happens. And so
I love that.
Right? You can look as far into the future as possible. It's like if you're not taking the first step, you're never going to get to the end goal. So I try not to think too far ahead, which is a bad mindset when it comes financially.
It is, but it's also one of those things of where you got to have that faith in yourself. You got to take that leap, take that risk. And I recently have just done that myself. Like you obviously know, I've been running my own business, and speaking of putting your eggs all in one basket, I've always had that thing of where I like to have many different things around me ready to be in case something didn't go the way I wanted it to. So I would always have a fallback into another job, knowing that that's where I could go. And I've always sort of had that. And opening up my own clinic, I've been trying to juggle that with another part-time job I was doing, as well as some other work that I do for a good friend of mine who's now my business partner. And it was only, now that I've got my clinic to where it is now, it was only about 3 weeks ago. I've slowly been doing this, but I finally just handed in my resignation to my part-time job, and now I'm 100% out on my own as of the end of August, which is kind of terrifying, because you start to go like, if I have a slow week or if anything starts to backfire, it's all on me now. But in the back of your head, you're like, now this gives me time to really get in, do the stuff I haven't been able to do, and grow it to where I want it to be. So I feel that at the moment with you, and it's like as if it's one of those things, you don't always want to put your eggs all in one basket, but at the same time, when it comes to yourself, you do. You need to do that. And I can see that's sort of your mentality as well, which is 100%. Why I think we're working so well together.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's like at the end of the day, it's if you have one foot out the door, I've seen it plenty of times, you're just not going to fully commit. And it's as simple as that. And if you don't fully commit, you're never going to give it your full effort. You're not even going to believe yourself enough.
No.
And it's fun. Like I can tell you right now, and I know you feel it too, the number one conversation I have, it's all around mindset and just self-belief. And as corny as it sounds, but no one's going to believe in you more than you can believe in yourself. And it's some people say it's arrogance, but at the same time, if you say you're bad, you're going to be bad. You become who you say you're going to become. So yeah, you just got to bet yourself, dude. Nobody else will.
Yeah,
so.
Well, it's 100% right, isn't it? On saying that too, so my experience too, and I'd love to know if you've had experience similar to this. So when I originally started working in my field, which is exercise and health and exercise physiology and that, I did start as a personal trainer. Straight out of uni, after my first bachelor's, I went into personal training. And that's a business on itself, right? You're working for yourself. But the way it's sold to you is you work your own hours, you do this, you do however you want it to do, set your schedule, and clients want to see you, want to help you. What they don't tell you is the amount of work that goes into it, the amount of unpaid work that goes into it, the mixture of hours, the long days. Some days I'd be starting at 6 and I'd be working through to 9 o'clock at night. There was so much involved, and you're trying to fill gaps here or there. And it got to the point that I started to lose faith in myself, and I started to blame others for where I was at. I'd go, you know what, the gym manager's not giving me the work I need to be able to grow from here. Oh, my clients aren't wanting to spend as much money. I'm looking at other personal trainers going, they're taking my work. Like, I was blaming other people for the reason why I wasn't succeeding, and I only lasted, I'd say maybe 5 months. 5 months as a personal trainer originally, and then I just went, nah, not for me. And that's why I still have my foot in the door in other avenues with like I was working in a bottle shop as well, and then that's where I was my backup. I went straight from that back into the bottle shop until I decided what I wanted to do. So it's as if I never really believed. I had a small amount of belief that I could start doing something, but I never really wanted to take account for everything that was going wrong and try and work on that. In saying all that, have you had things similar in your line of work? Because I'd love to know the comparison between the two.
I think you bring up a really good point because it's so easy to blame others, and I think that's probably the biggest thing you learn, especially running yourself. It's like no one's gonna save you. So if you can't take accountability, and like the saying I always hear is like it's all your fault, and it's not like in a bad way. It's more like, well, you also have the power to kind of like turn it around. If something's not working, you can kind of dive into it. But the second you take a victim mentality, it's just like you're just gonna wallow, and then you're not gonna take the next step to get better. Which is, I did this thing where I would just think for hours about where I wanted my business to be, where I wanted it to be, but it wasn't helping. I wasn't actually taking the step into it. And you bring up a really good point though, because a lot of people I work with, it's very much like you go into it with a passion and kind of an idea of what you think and where you think it's going to go. And PT is such a good example because, yeah, they tell you your own hours and stuff like that. But they don't tell you, like, if you don't understand any of the business side of things, it's a nightmare.
Oh, 100%.
You got admin chasing, like you said. If you don't even understand how to price yourself or even how to, like, convey your value, then how could you, if you can't convince yourself, you can't convince others. And so you go down this weird spiral. And so a lot of the people I work with, I think the number one way I pitch them is just, you're a professional. Let me handle the business side, or at least give you a bit of insight into what I recommend. Because I love the business side, because that's the fun bit, where it's you diversify the way you're making money so you can make more, but also still do exceptional work, provide the value that you want to provide, but you don't get bogged down in the bit that pretty much takes your energy, which is normally, like, if I pitch someone, that's kind of the avenue I take, because I do love it. And like I said, I want to be 80 and still doing this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's just fascinating to see it from your point of view as well, because would have loved to have known how your mindset was too. And I guess that's the thing. Like we're always looking for other reasons. We always see that we can do something and it sounds great to do it, but if you're not willing to put yourself out there, if you're not willing to do those things that you didn't realize you had to do, you're just going to be on the back foot and you're never going to grow from there. And you're just going to continually think going, why am I not getting this far? It's because of this. It's because of that. So I'm glad that's sort of something you have experienced, probably on a different level and different way that I have. But at the same time, it's like, it's why you sort of have that like-mindedness as myself, because you obviously know what you've got to do to get to yourself to that next step and keep on growing from there, I guess is the main thing, because you're never really going to, I would say no one really succeeds in business. Everyone just keeps growing in a business. Sure. And that's the only way it should be.
You're either growing or slowly dying. It's like as bad as that sounds, that's kind
There's
of
really
the way
no ceiling.
There's no ceiling
when it comes to it. Yeah, so you just keep on pushing into it, and you're going to have the peaks and troughs and all of that, but at the same time, you just keep riding them and keep following that process.
It's so funny too, because we're both at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
We're just like, oh, we're so experienced.
We'll go back and listen to this and however many times, once we're about 200 plus episodes in, and it'll be fascinating to see how far we've gone.
That's true though. But you also, I'm a huge fan of, I'm lucky. I think the only reason I actually made the switch is I had AI right at the right times. We had ChatGPT just emerging. We had the likes of Alex Hormozy giving out so much free information. And we had James Smith, who's also in like the PT space. And so wealth of information, so many successful stories to follow. Which one do you want to try and take a little parts of? And like, I was lucky enough that I started, like, this was when I was still working my full-time job. I was like, on the side, I was like, ChatGPT, like, I want to start building. I was doing business plans and everything, just trying to figure out how I could monetize stuff. So at the beginning, people saw me spin up like 4 different Instagram accounts of like 4 different businesses I was going to try and pitch. But it was just access to information so high, but at the same time, clear information to try and follow is now at an all-time high too. And now you can just chat GPT and just be like, hey, well, what do you recommend I try? But it's like cutting through all that noise now is the next issue. But I was lucky it wasn't too noisy when I first started. And to be fair, would you recommend going to business to everyone?
I think if you got the mentality for it, I think you're willing to give it a go, definitely. Just understand that it's not always going to be as profitable as you think at the start.
That's like a year and a half.
Yeah. It's one of those things of that you do need to have the right people around you. I learned that the hard way going out on my own, and I'm very fortunate now in the work that I do just from, and this is a whole other thing, I believe that you don't just get lucky, you create your own luck. That you do enough work and you put yourself in situations and take opportunities when they're there, luck will come around. And that's where I got to the point that I'm now. I'm just very fortunate. I met my business partner because I took an opportunity to go move up to Darwin and work for him. And that's the reason why I now own a clinic down here in Perth, is because he saw some belief in me and went, I want to help you do this, what I'm doing here, in your home state. And that's where I am now. So it's one of those things that you've got to understand. Most likely you will fail, and that's okay, because failing means you're learning. And then using that to then grow from there. Try to avoid the whole I've failed, everything's the worst and all that. And that's hard, definitely hard to do. But if you use it as a learning experience and then you keep on going, and even if it doesn't work out and then you go into another area, you're still going to create an opportunity to maybe do something similar. Because the goal should always be if you have a dream of what you see something doing, understand that dream might not be exactly the way you want it to be. If it still gives you a purpose or a drive or anything like that, your dream is being succeeded, but it's just not exactly the same way you pictured it being.
Yeah, 100%. You just can't plan it.
I actually learnt that quote from a comedian.
Did you actually?
out of everyone to learn something like that, it was a comedian that taught me that.
Which comedian, do you remember?
Tom Segura.
Tom Segura. He's changed a lot.
I know. Cool. He was a very dark comedian, but I heard that and I was like, holy shit, that actually relates so much to where my mindset is. So yeah, we're going on a real tangent there, but I think it's definitely something people should try out. But again, it comes down to what you're wanting to do. Are you willing to give up? Are you willing to sacrifice a lot just to get yourself there? Because having a stable job at the end of the day, it just allows you to have that, I guess, bit more flexible and a bit more to take risks and all of that. Whereas running a business, you've got to think about every single risk that comes with it.
Yep, definitely.
Because if things go backwards, you're then trying to think about 10 months in advance going, well, I'm now not hitting this target, so now I've got to think about what I've got to sacrifice here to make sure I'm prepared for what's happening in the near future.
I completely agree.
And you never know what's in the near future, do we? On saying all of that, there was something you said earlier that did spark my mind, and it's something just come back to my front of thought. You mentioned you had a mentor.
Yes.
Now, a mentor for me, I guess, would say be my business partner, but how does one come across a mentor in your line of work?
That's so funny. So I spend so much time on socials. It's just the nature of my industry, just seeing what's working. And there was one particular guy, he's based over in Melbourne. So he was one of the reasons why I flew there the other month, just to meet him in person. Yeah, it's always a funny thing, especially when you seek him out. But it was an organic video I saw. He was someone that looked like me, reminded me of myself. And through connecting with him, I think we got connected in December. And so he had this program. I just signed up. And I know it sounds like it's one of those coaching. There's a lot of bad internet gurus, and I went into that kind of. I think at that stage I was kind of I can't decide on what direction to take the business, and it wasn't even a videography business at that stage. But this guy reminded me of myself, and I was like, I'm just going to take a bet. It was a pretty cheap cost of entry, so I was like, just chuck some money at it and see if it makes a difference. And it made the world of a difference. And it wasn't that he was giving me such insightful stuff. It was just more like he was maybe 2 steps ahead of me. And so he's been doing it a couple years longer, someone younger than me. And I was like, oh, how did he do that? And so just seeing his mistakes and him being quite, his name's Hugh, and we can always do a shout out later.
Yeah.
But he was doing something that I wanted to do, and he reminded me of myself, and I thought, if he can do it, literally, why can't I? So I reached out, and from one convo, we just clicked. He gave me a set of steps to do. It was a ridiculous request. It was $1,000 and film 20 worth of videos for businesses, right? And I was like, that is an insane amount. Genuinely time wise, for $1,000 for 20 videos to post over 2 weeks, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, right.
And so he's like, just pitch that, because it's such a good value transaction. It's yeah, $1,000 for a small business is probably not that expensive, but it takes a week for me to work on all that stuff, and it's pretty annoying work. But it worked in the beginning. And so I was like, oh, damn, okay, what you said actually worked. Let's keep going in that direction. I'm going to trust what you're saying. And then over the time, he's just a friend more than a mentor, but he just keeps me accountable. And I think when you're running your own thing, I can't imagine what it's like with a business partner. I reckon that'd be cool. But I'm in my room most of my days, and I can't talk to my wife about business because it's not her interest, and she tells me to stop. But for me, it's someone that's keeping an eye on me, just to make sure I'm holding myself to what I say I want to do. And that's what he is to me.
Oh, that's awesome. I guess, yeah, I've always heard of people getting mentors. And you've spoken about him before to me, and I was just really curious to know how that would ever happen. So it's interesting. I didn't really think, I wish I had sort of had something like that early on in my life to be able to sort of lean back on someone and go that. I guess I use my friends and all that too, but having someone that understands and is able to offer that type of advice to you too, it must have helped because, yeah, you've obviously taken a lot out of it, and I'd say there's still someone that's really involved in your life.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every week.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah, but I've had, and it's a good point because there's not always. I think when you choose a mentor, and it's probably not always the most productive thing. And I think one of the bigger things is to make sure you choose someone that's probably in a position you want to be in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, the old analogy is like, don't take advice from someone not in a position you want to be in because they're just going to take you down the wrong path. He was literally like 2 steps ahead of me. And so that's why I reached out to him. To me, I was still like, am I going to get scammed here? I don't know if this guy's even real because he's over east, right? And so it's just video calls. I could be talking to an AI bot for all I know, but I met him. And I had a mentor before that, and we weren't very aligned, and that's why it just didn't push me. And so it is quite a personal thing to try and find, but it's also lucky at the end of the day.
Do you find it's something that because they obviously have their way of wanting to do things, are they evolving to the way you want to do it, and they're offering advice on like, hey, if I was in your shoes, this is what I would do? Or did you notice that it's more of like, no, you have to do it this way?
Nah, I think that's a good point though, because it would be so easy to just be like, copy what I did, and it might not work for you. But like I said, I've stopped getting advice from him. It's more kind of like we're working towards a goal, and so he has his vision, I have my vision, and so he's just making sure I hold myself to my values. So it's not like he's giving me any particular advice. At the beginning, it was simple things like, hey, business model wise, to get a bit of money in, you should probably just do a ridiculous offer with a money back guarantee, and that way people will say yes, because that's like the first challenge is being like, hey, I want to offer this to you, can you pay me? Which is like the hardest thing at the beginning, right?
Asking people to pay is probably one of the most daunting things you can get.
Literally. But now that you have that skill, it's kind of like, can you accept money from any other way? It's just like, you can just ask for money. This is a hack. Why isn't everyone doing this? I mean, there's tax implications.
Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it. But I do agree. It's one of those things that you go, I know that I'm offering something right now, but you feel strange because you're offering it to ask someone to pay you for it, because you're going like, I don't...
Feels weird.
Do I feel like I'm offering enough for someone to pay for what I'm saying or what I'm doing for them?
Do you see your self-worth as well to charge that amount?
And that's a big thing, yeah. But at the end of the day, like, if you're doing it right and they're seeing it and they're seeing the benefits from it, then 100%. But I guess yourself as well, it's a strange concept to try and ask someone, hey, I'm giving you some advice, or I'm offering something here to you. Can you pay me?
Yeah. It's wild.
It's a very strange concept. Yeah, I guess unless anyone that's run a business will understand that for sure. So Trigrams itself, coming back onto that, your work at the moment, it's videography, it's photography, and it's also website development as well. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's evolved a lot. I think that's one of the better ways to say it. Like, I had struggled kind of like categorizing what I do. It has evolved. I think the blanket statement is definitely just digital marketing.
Yeah.
But I like to kind of call it full stack. The reason
full
I call
stack. That's
it,
good.
Yeah. In like IT, when you say something's full stack, you're basically building it from complete, like from front end to back end. So it's kind of like my ode to it. But it's like, yes, website design. It's just digital marketing, right?
Yeah.
It's like what people see, how they contact you, and just driving more awareness around people's businesses. So the way it's structured now is like a very initial offer of a website, and then you see the way I work. And like I said, I'm quite selective, so that's a really cheap thing for me to deliver. And so it doesn't take too much of my time if I'm going to find out we're probably not going to work out, right? And I'm super transparent about that. I've had bad experience. I don't want to just work with anyone.
I can imagine,
Yeah. So, and then from there, it's kind of like building on each step. But the goal is basically to get more attention on business, because I genuinely, like, for me, the reason I picked marketing at the beginning is because when I worked in IT, we call it an MSP, a managed service provider. And so it's outsourced IT. And so you deal with a lot of industries, and you deal with a lot of different businesses. We had real estate, we had law, we had e-commerce, we had allied health, and lots of like even hospitals to some degree. So it's like you see what the winners are doing, and when I say winners, I'm talking about businesses in industry that are performing better, and just getting more work, and it's just their marketing funnel's better. It's not necessarily that their service or product is better than the other. It's just they're so much better at using English and visuals to showcase the good work that they're doing in their clientele. And so I'm like, if people and small business struggles with this, because they do so much by themselves, it's just like, all right, what if someone is an expert? They come in and they try and partner up, and they're just like, let's lift the standard, so we get you up to standard, and your marketing approach is better, and now you've got more client. It just benefits everyone because you're not charging. I'm like not charging ridiculous amounts where it's just like agencies tend to get bad connotation because they'll charge you like 10 grand and barely give you any results. But the way I'm trying to go about it is not. I'm going contrarian to that. It's just like I actually want you to market yourselves, and I just want to help you guys get to that stage. But if you don't have someone kind of guiding you and taking your unique perspective, and just looking at, like, I love business, so it's like dealing with lots of different industries. I'm kind of like, this is cool. I'm sure it could help the other. It's just fun, and at the end of the day, it's one of the biggest levers you can pull to pull in more work and then grow as a business, because if you're not growing, you're slowly dying, unfortunately, in the business space. So
exactly right. Do you have a preference in the type of business that you've sort of worked alongside or marketed for?
Yeah, I like solo founders or founder-led,
Yep.
and I think the reason I like that at this stage is they're more receptive to the ideas that I have. And I mean, if you've got a little bit of like, tech background, or just knowing how to use socials and just recording yourself and just getting in front of that, it helps me a lot, because it means I don't really have to hold your hand so much at the beginning. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be like the person you rely on solely for the marketing for your business. Like, I want to walk away giving you at least
the tools.
The tools.
To do. Yeah.
Exactly. Because what am I doing? I'm gatekeeping information from you if I'm doing that otherwise. And that's got no benefit to me, because I'm not making more money at that. It doesn't matter anyway. But if you're going to grow, and this is why I'm like, I'd rather do partnerships, because your success is my success.
Yeah.
It incentivizes me to do good work. And so that's that's been the original reason why I've like gone down this direction. But the way to get to that point, to get from A to B, has changed quite a bit. So yeah, digital marketing is kind of the best way to say what I do.
It works. For those curious to see it, Trigram Studio, check it out on Instagram and all that. The videos and all that done for this podcast, that's all you. I'd like to say I have some input. I think I tell you what we're looking to do, and then you create it. Like, it's what you do is incredible, I think, and it's something that I have the vision that, oh yes, I know I see what I want to do and I want to create that, but then when I actually have to sit down and do it, I'm lost. And that's where I feel that you've added so much benefit to myself, to the podcast, and seeing the work you do outside of there as well, just seeing the videos and all that you put online and all that for other businesses and how you do your outreach. It shows that you're actually invested and that you're doing something that you're really passionate about, which is fantastic to see in this line of work. So thank you very much for that, mate.
Kind words.
So now you're 100% out on your own.
Yep.
Do you feel confident you're seeing the growth? Are you sort of seeing where your next steps are going in the business, or have you got some other big plans coming up in there?
I see the next steps. I have an overall vision that I'm trying to aim towards. I do want to have a studio that I can call my own, and I do want to have a team down the line. But I think the next steps is to just repeat what I've done, because it's like arguably leading into the best month I've ever done.
Yep.
And so I never want to be stagnant. If anyone knows me, I throw my life in chaos constantly. I cannot sit still. I always want to try and do something more. So that next step's just going to be financially be safe.
Yep.
And then start experimenting. And like I said, 80-year-old Envision is like, I'm on the board of director for a bunch of businesses. I'm just giving advice from a pool of experience I've culminated over my life. But I definitely want to get to the point where I'm starting to buy into businesses and just have a few here and there, and just take a fresh approach to things. Don't need to change too much, but rinse and repeat. Business as like an ideology seems to be a pretty straightforward thing, but execution tends to be a lot of problems that I see, at least.
Well, that's it. And I guess that's another part that I want to ask you too, because your line of work, there is a lot of people that do it. Is it just repeating what the main process do? You look at the biggest places. What would be the biggest digital marketing one in Australia right now that you would say is out
one
there?
of my favorite is a place over east called Fortin Media.
Yep.
The owner of that one's probably taken the direction I would love to go in, which is like you have such key skilled individuals come in and form quite a family, tight-knit family. And honestly, I don't think you don't need to like break the mold. Like a lot of businesses aren't just they're not even doing the basics. And so just offering it at I think a lot of and I can imagine you would run into this a lot, is just conveying value, and because people struggle to see it. At least whatever they're trying to get involved, they maybe don't see how you can help, or what this effect would have on their business, and it's just building trust and talking and finding out like why they think a certain way and just changing their kind of their mindset around it. That's if you're going to take one thing away from like what I've learned as like trying to run this business, it's just have conversations, understand where someone's coming from, and just give your take. And if they're willing to take it, build on it.
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Yeah, because I guess that's part of the thing. I wanted to just chat to you there about was the process itself. That's basically it. Like you see what they're doing, the bigger company, and you go, as long as I follow what they're doing, I see the base, I see the skeleton, I know that I'm going to hit what I need to, because you just got to, it's just rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Follow that, you rinse and repeat it. But do you see other people in the same shoes as you that are running something very similar in the digital marketing space going, oh, let's be a little bit creative and do this instead? And maybe they're not hitting exactly the goals they want because they've divvied slightly off the route from there.
Yeah, I think there's no wrong answer, right? So it's like whatever, you never know how someone's going to respond. But I genuinely think like for those doing really well, they're nailing the basics, and the basics are just consistency and showing up more.
Yeah.
And just staying true to their message. It's so easy to divert. But for those experimenting, I actually think they do better. But
really?
It's more the consistency side of things. Like I said, I by no means have made it, but from what and I digest.
You're doing well.
So
You're doing
I
well.
appreciate that.
Okay.
I'm on the incline. But it's when you do something against the grain, it does stand out, and especially with our short attention spans now, it tends to be kind of the better approach to take. But like I don't suggest that too much, especially for at least the businesses I work with, because like I said, they just don't have foundationally the right setup, and which is kind of like why, even though I said digital marketing, it's slowly evolving more into automation. And when I say automation, I'm just talking about just nailing the fundamentals of how you deal with interest. So an example would be like lead automation, which is just like someone's made an inquiry, but they're not being followed up on until the next 2 days, or there's a bunch of steps that could have been done beforehand, just like with signing initial documents, getting an even like a rough understanding of why someone's reached out to you about like what their problem is, or so on and so forth. These are easy wins. And this is what I mean. It's just like it's a partnership. I'm just trying to give you my input from working in tech for 5 years and seeing what other businesses have done really well, and just copying and pasting into your unique formula, and just like, hey, this makes you guys, it's going to make you guys do a better job, and that's all you want to do at the end of the day, make a better product. But I think for going against the grain has its benefit for sure. Yeah. But I also think in my space, it's so creative that it's so easy to do really good work, but then not consistently deliver it.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. But the one thing I love about what you do, and I'm not sure, I'd say most people in your industry would do this too, but what I've noticed with yourself is that you always have your way. You will show someone how to do it, but then you're willing to change it up based on how their reaction is or what they're also wanting. And even if it's not something you're willing to do, you still do the research, or not willing to do. Even if it's something that you haven't done before, you're willing to learn and try and see if you can best manage it and create something what they want from there. And that is probably the best thing that you've brought to this as well, because it's something where I go, oh, I saw a vision of this happening in the potty or whatever it might be, and you go, that's cool. What if I show you this instead? And I'm going, that's even better. So you're sort of teaching other people at the same time to go, have you considered this instead? And that's all that that's the marketing, that's the research that you're doing, and that's what you're offering, really. That's great.
I appreciate that, honestly. It's kind. It's honestly kind. I think. And I like to say it like this. It's like you and I might have an idea that maybe works or doesn't, but we won't know until we at least test it.
Yeah.
And so I have a very, systematic approach where it's like, let's just test it and see if the market likes it. And so rinse and repeat, or improve on it, or don't do it again if it's really bad. Yeah. So we kind of assume. I think that's the main thing at the end of the day.
It works, and it definitely does. And you're offering a lot to the podcast, and I love that. And I'm excited to see what we've got to come. You haven't done any of the podcast try reach out to you just yet?
There was one.
Oh, no.
But no, I'm like I said, I'm very partnership based. So it's like I purposely don't take on more than I can chew.
I promise you I can offer you more.
No. Appreciate that.
Alex, thank you so much for this. It's been so cool to chat with you. I've actually learned some stuff. I thought I knew so much about you already. I'm still learning from you, which is great. And the chat's gone a lot more in depth in the business side I thought it would today. So I love that, because it's fascinating seeing how your mind works. And just from this chat, I can see that we've got so much more. We've grown so much. There's so much more growth to do. And I have full belief what you're doing, what I'm doing here, and our partnership to come from there. Mattandmates, it's going to go even further. We've got so much more exciting stuff to come on board, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for us.
Oh, 100%.
And yourself, and Trigrams as well.
Nah, I appreciate that, dude. No, your success is my success. That's all I want to say.
I appreciate it. Thanks much, mate. For those of you that haven't seen your stuff, check him out on Instagram. I'll chuck it in the show notes as well. Trigrams Studio
Correct, yeah.
on Instagram. Do you have Facebook as well?
I do, yeah. It'll be the same Trigram Studio.
On there as well. His website's on there too. Alexander.
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 Yeah, no,
I always
forget
get
that's
that
my
wrong.
name.
Yep. Alexander Oliver on Instagram as well. Check it out. You're always putting something on there or something, new ideas coming out. By all means, get around. They're the best videographer and the best digital marketing in Perth.
Oh, too kind, too kind.
Might be a little biased, but that's what my opinion is. Alex, thanks so much for this, mate. It's gonna be a shame to have you back behind the camera for the next one, but you do that so well that I could never be the one doing that. So thanks for doing this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we've got to come in the future.
Likewise. Thanks, man.
Cheers, man.